Now, this would be a continuation of my series, Is Your Team Addicted to Trust the Process? And this will be Volume 2 starring the New Orleans Pelicans, as right now they sit at the middle of the Western Conference, and with plenty of draft assets, and especially 3-and-D players, this team has enough leverage to make a couple moves to actually get them over the hump. Now, just looking at their draft picks, in 2024, they have 3 first-rounders. 2025, they have 2 first-rounders and 3 second-round picks. For 2026, they have 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. And for 2027, they have 2 first-round picks and also 2 second-round picks. So once again, that is plenty of assets to make moves, because this roster right now is 12th in offense, 7th in defense. But there's a few players this season that are pretty redundant and even coming off an injury. Herb Jones, great shooting this season, 3-and-D guy. But him along with Dyson Daniels, it's kind of the same thing, except Dyson Daniels does not really shoot well, and his free throw shooting is not quite as sharp. Now, before I get to the obvious, which is the fit between Ingram and Zion, I want to say this: they don't have a guy to really create any offense. CJ McCollum is a combo guard who does not really play defense, but at times pairing him up with Alvarado does expose him a little bit in the front court, even though Alvarado does play good defense from time to time, but they're a little bit too small. Now, looking at their backcourt, guys like CJ McCollum, a combo guard that doesn't really play defense or is really good at creating for others. The Pelicans, in a way, are pretty much where the Clippers were at a few years ago, before they actually got someone to run that offense in James Harden, where they had their guys like Paul George and Kawhi actually being the creators off the dribble. And just having your main players just be that guys to run the offense sometimes leads to careless turnovers, and eventually it's going to lead to fatigue throughout the game. You want to get them the ball while they're in their spots, not from 30 feet out trying to create. And when you combine guys like Alvarado, Daniels, along with Zion, it's just too much bad free throw shooting on the floor at the same time. And speaking of Zion, the combination with him and Ingram sometimes doesn't quite fit, because Ingram at times, when they try to create spacing for each other, Ingram is not necessarily a catch and shoot guy. He's sort of a mid-range, off the dribble type of guy. He loves to attack the closeout. And Zion not being able to shoot, by the time he spaces out the floor, he's not really a threat from about 25 feet out or even 15 feet out. So it does create a conundrum there. And that really leads back to them in their crunch time minutes, how this team this season has been struggling. When you combine the bad free throw shooting between Zion, Daniels, and Alvarado, along with the poor spacing of Ingram and Zion, and especially Zion not really being a shooting threat, you start to see why the crunch time situations this season have pretty much gone left. Now, Valanciunas this season is on an expiring contract. And the Pelicans do need a center, because at times they do perform a lot better with Larry Nance down low. But I'm not sure if he could put in full minutes at that position. But with all the draft picks that they have and that $15 million coming off the books, they can get something. But that Ingram and Zion combination, they're going to have to make a decision on that, as next season Ingram is going to be on an expiring, and he's going to be eligible for a new contract. So if the Pelicans want to continue to invest in a combination that sometimes doesn't really quite fit, they're going to have to make a decision on that. But just like the Oklahoma City Thunder, with all the draft assets they have, you got to know when to cash in. And the Pelicans right now, I believe they're one of these teams that are suffering from getting the best player available, especially with the trade involving Anthony Davis. They just got a bunch of players from the Lakers that were top picks. But the way this team is constructed, on paper, it looks good, but the fit is just not really working. Once again, they have a combination of bad free throw shooters. They don't really have a guard who can really shoot and create for others at the same time. CJ does one with the shooting, but he's not really good at creating for others. And then Alvarado is not really as good of a shooter, especially from the free throw line. And when you have multiple 3-and-D guys like Trey Murphy, Daniels, you got Hawkins, not necessarily a 3-and-D, but he's definitely shooting really good this season. You have all these guys on the bench along with these draft picks. There's a move to be made here. But last but not least, the Pelicans are going to have to figure out what they're doing overall when it comes to roster construction. Are they fully committed into putting pieces that fit around Zion? Or are they just committed using Zion as a guy who gets some ticket sales and just putting a decent product on the floor? That's the only conundrum with a lot of these small market teams. It is what it is. So until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.